So tell me a little bit about the high-performing team process. Yes. What is that?
So it's an opportunity for me to become a team coach. Go from you as an individual, as your executive coach, to work with you and your team and support your team. And the way it works is a contract and conversation where I would sit with you and ask you a few questions about where is your team now, who's on your team, what kind of a team is it? Give me a little bit of history. How would you sense you're working together with your team? Do you have team norms? Do you have a charter? Are you clear on your mission, your vision? Do you have a clear strategy? Do you have priorities? Have you clarified the roles of the people on the team and their responsibilities and their priorities? So I ask you a number of questions related to the sort of the health of the team. And then once I heard from you why you would want me to work with your team, that would be one question. So what would you like to get out of an experience where I would work with you or your team? And usually we work over a 12-month to an 18-month period and work with the team 2 to 4 times, assuming, obviously, that the first experience is good. So we don't contract for 3 or 4 times in advance, but we contract one at a time with the expectation that if the team is going to become a higher performing team each time, it's going to take some reinforcement, some time to come back and refresh in terms of what we've done before and develop new skills and just really become masters in some of the concepts and skills around teamwork. And usually I ask you then to identify 1 or 2 people on your team to team with me and co-design with obvious input from you on what the first module workshop would look like, usually 2 to 3 days. And then we would begin the design process together and looking at outcomes at these 5 dimensions: business, organization, team, professional, and personal. We'd ask you to help us out by telling us what you think you would like to get out of it from each of these 5 dimensions. And then I would take the lead on putting an actual design together on those outcomes. We would refine it, the person or persons that you would ask me to work together, and usually getting people who have different points of view. And I would suggest probably the first time around to at least get your human resource business partner engaged in that, so that he or she and I and 1 other person could really put the first design together. Also ask you if you're interested in getting feedback from your team about your own leadership in terms of what's working well.
Like a 360?
Somewhat like a 360, but really focused on these questions. What is it that Isabel is doing well that she should continue from your perspective? What is it that Isabel might want to consider doing more of or starting, or doing less of or stopping? So you're getting feedback on basically those 3 major dimensions. Going well, stop, do less of, start, do more of. And this would be part of a survey that would be anonymous, but not confidential. And the survey would be made up of questions coming from your team. So you would send out a letter in advance saying, we're going to have a high-performing team workshop. Lynn is going to be running it for us, and I've contracted Ernie, in this case, to come in and be our coach. And he would like to have from you a question that you think we should be thinking about now and perhaps address when we get together 1 month from now.
A question about what?
A question about our team, about our business, about our organization. Any question that you think is on your mind as a team member that you feel would be critical for us to think about.
Can you give me an example of what question that has been?
How could we become a higher performing team? How could we better engage our direct reports? So it could be related to the organization, it could be related to our business strategy. What is missing in our current business strategy? Because when we work together, we would be working around all 5 of those dimensions. So we'd spend some time working on your business. So you could look at this not as a team building event, but like a business meeting.
We will work on our business.
So you'll work on your business challenges, you'll work on your organization challenges. I will be there as a team coach. Part of the time I will facilitate some of the sessions. Other times you might facilitate a session, somebody else on your team. So it would really be an opportunity to start sharing the leadership even in this meeting, and it's not me facilitating or lecturing, because we look at more of a just-in-time approach to learning as opposed to me standing up and doing a lot of lessons on decision-making or strategy or things like that.
What is the just-in-time?
Just-in-time, for example, very often in a team, everybody starts talking at once on a topic. So I would look at that as an opportunity to introduce a very simple tool, concept that we use called Stop, Reflect, Write, Report. This is an example. Say, okay, before we begin this conversation, let's take 2 minutes and each of us in our journals, and I would provide a journal like this for everybody. Just take 2 minutes in your journal and write down your thoughts about this question that we're going to be discussing in a few minutes. So everybody gets a chance to put down what they think makes sense to them. So that's the stop and reflect and writing, and then we say, okay, at the end of that, let's go right around the table and hear from everybody, what do you think? What that does, it allows the introverts, like me, a chance to really get quiet and catch my thoughts and put them down. It forces the extroverts who tend to sort of talk out loud and talk around a point to really get focused. And then it allows all of us to listen much more carefully because we know we have our turn coming. And it also creates better thinking because we've taken time to think. So it's a sort of a magic formula, stop, reflect, write, report, that I would introduce at the time where it was appropriate, rather than introduce all the tools in advance, say, here's the tools we'll be using during the course of these 2.5 days. I'd let it come naturally. So that's what I call sort of the just-in-time. So part of the design process is working with those members of your team to get a design that we feel very comfortable, addresses where you think the team is, and the questions that they send in give us a good indication of where your team members are. And then we would spend probably the first evening just having dinner together so we can socialize. I get to know them, they get to know me, we sort of break the ice, talk about personal things, tell stories. So we're very much trying to integrate, once again, the integral principle here of really bringing the whole person in. And time goes quickly. Our experience is that people have a lot of fun because they're engaged. Everybody is working. It's just not the extroverts or just not those who are facilitating or have co-designed, and it's not just you. So you really get a chance to see what shared leadership looks like at the very beginning.
Because everybody gets a role in that program, that course?
Usually on a team of 10 to 15, we find roles that everybody can play during that 2.5 days.
And how much is it, will be working on our business, and how much time will be games or things like you say, our team development?
We don't do a lot of games. We figure that the best learning is around your real challenges. So most of the time we really spend on whatever the current issues that are both important and urgent to you. So that'd be one of the questions. Where are you in your life as a team and in the business? What are critical questions, issues that you need to address at this point in time? Let's make sure those are on the table. For example, right now I'm working with a team in Beijing. And this is the 3rd module coming up, and that team is really interested in how can we ensure that we're cascading teamwork throughout the whole organization. I began working with their leadership team of 12 people. They brought in Module 2, their direct reports. They're bringing their direct reports in again. So this group called the Extended Leadership Team, we're going to spend some time talking about stories, how each of them, because each of them are team leaders, have been cascading high-performing teamwork, applying some of the practices and principles that they've learned in Modules 1 and 2, what they're doing throughout the rest of the organization.
Are they applying things that they have learned?
That's exactly what the question is. What have you learned? What have you applied from what we learned and what we did together? They're also looking at the term engagement. What does that mean? And how are we engaging the rest of the organization, an organization of 450,000